Hey guys, we're back again. So, you're wondering what this thing is right here in front of me. Well, last week I built a waste oil burner for my little shop. And being as how, I don't know if you can't tell looking at the ground around this thing, that winter finally showed up. So, barn work is done until the weather breaks. But for the wood shop in that barn on the second floor, I want to be able to use the sawdust I'm generating up there for something other than compost. So that shop I want to keep heated, so I'll probably put a temporary form in for a bit, or for when this thing's not running. But I'm going to build a sawdust rocket burner. I've seen a few of them out there. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I think it'd be a real good way to use the sawdust up. Another thing for us woodworkers, we're always generating sawdust. So this tank right here, this is a big bladder tank I took out of a job. This stands about 6 feet tall. I'm going to cut it down to about 3.5 feet tall. We're going to use this top right here to make the top lid. We'll weld some better legs on the bottom. It does have a ring on it, just like your propane tank or something like that. So, stay tuned. I'm going to cut this thing off of here. You guys have probably seen plenty of grinders work, so you probably don't feel like watching that. But I'm going to get after it, and we'll be right back. Here's what I have. Now this is just a test piece so I can see how this thing fits, but picture this as the lid that's going to go on top of this on this burner. So pull it out here and do that one-handed. I won't tell you what I'm doing with the other hand, but use your imagination. I could be running the camera, could be having the dog run the camera, you don't know. So you can see my groove right there. See, that goes all the way around. All the way around. Just have to put that filler piece in. But, so, what I have, you have to apologize for the Blair Witch stuff going on. Tripod's not quite tall enough to hit this. So, I have rope gasket. This is, what is this, 5/8 inch rope gasket? Is that 3? I think that's 5/8. So I do a lot of boiler work while I'm at work. I put a lot of boilers together, big ones, and they always send you, the manufacturer always sends you a kit with a ton of extra rope gasket. And I do so many of those boilers that I always save the rope gasket. And I save the adhesive that I use to put in whatever I don't use. So this stuff has been so handy for me around the house. I tie the kids up with it. It's good and strong. It's all kinds of fun. So, all I'm going to do, just going to start that in there. Alright, have the rope gasket all laid in there. So now, you can see where I've got a little of it packed down. So I'm just going to work my way around. Use whatever you want. I'm just using a file. So I want this seal as tight as I can get it. I just want a good tight fit here. And keep the camera where I'm working. So where these two meet, right there, you can see where I cut it. You don't overlap them. Because if you overlap them, your lid's not going to sit down right there. So what I do, I get them as tight as I can, end to end. And when the lid sits on there, it should kind of smash it together. But you can see, let me get my arm out of light here. All the shadows. Jeez. How the hell do you guys do this all the time? There, you see that's sitting on the bottom there. So I'm just going to keep working my way around.
Rolling in, it isn't time to cry. We traveled all around the world to see the meaning of our life.
Behind me, as you can see in the opening, we have our sawdust burner that we started about a year ago now. That was one of my real early videos, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 videos in. I can't remember what number video was, but that video was called Free Heat for the Woodworker. And the reason we say that, if you're a woodworker, you're going to have a lot of sawdust in your shop. A lot of it's going to be from kiln dried or at least air dried lumber, so you're going to have good dry sawdust. What do most woodworkers do with their sawdust? It goes in a bag, goes to the dump, or it goes in their garden. Well, I'm always looking for sources of heat. I'm always looking to experiment. I love to experiment around with different things, see what can make work. That's why we made a coal grate to try it out, see if we would like coal. So this is another one along those lines. I've watched a few videos, stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I think we can figure this out. So what we're going to do, a sawdust burner, the style I'm building it, comprises of an outer shell, which is going to be the gray steel tank I have cut behind me. It's going to be an inner shell, and that's going to be the green 55-gallon drum we have there. And that drum's a little beat up. I just yanked it out of the tall grass near our shop here a few minutes ago because, funny story, I'll tell you at the end of the video why I don't have the good 55-gallon drum anymore. But anyway, so you're looking at a barrel within a barrel. It works exactly like a rocket heater does, or a rocket stove, except the riser that you're using to burn in is going to actually be the sawdust. So what you do is you get your inner barrel in there, you put a piece of PVC pipe down it. There's going to be a hole in the bottom. We'll cover more of that as we go. There'll be a hole in the bottom. You stick that pipe down there, you dump your sawdust in, you pack it around really well, you pull the pipe, and you should have a nice round hole all the way up through your sawdust. And what that'll do, that'll burn in there, and the way a rocket stove works, it actually creates like a chimney fire, so you're burning off pretty much all the combustibles that you can. It's going to hit the top, it's going to come down around the sides, and the exhaust port for these are really low. So it's kind of a neat thing. I've always been fascinated with rocket stoves, stuff like that. You know, I built one out of an old fire extinguisher one time, looked like a friggin' party bong or something, but it worked really well. Not as a bong though, you know. But anyway, so that's where we're at. We're going to try this out. We're going to see if it works. We've got some welding to do. We have a little bit of farm and fabrication to do. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Another wheel is rolling in. It isn't time to cry. We traveled all around the world to see the meaning of our life. you coming through the door. You fill the room with joy. I could be a honey pie and save the world on the side just to see you smile. I would rather be with you, even if it means I'm through chasing glory, fame, and wealth. I would not be by myself. I would rather be with you, even if it means I'm through.
So I'll tell you a little story of why we're using this, well, let's just call it a piece of shit 55-gallon drum that's bent all to hell. And I'll tell you why we're using this. I had a beautiful 55-gallon drum for this project set aside. A gorgeous 55-gallon drum. No dings in it, no dents, no rust, just beautiful. Well, so I'm on my way down here last night. I had to head out to my uncle's house about 40 miles away in an ice storm type condition and real bad winter shit coming in. So I'm going down the road. I get 30 miles from home. I'm in the city here, or what we call a city around here, and I check my rear view mirror and I got nothing in the back of my truck. So I freak out. I turn around. I drove up and down probably 25-30 miles stretch of road 2 or 3 times last night, and freezing rain and everything else. And anyway, I go out this morning out to my uncle's house again to check his furnace and all that, because he's back in the hospital again, of course. But at least they found the source of the infection this time, so that's a good thing. But anyway, I'm going through the middle of the public square in this. This is Watertown, New York, so they got a little square here. Anyway, I'm going through the square, and I look over to my right, and there's my sawdust burner sitting on the sidewalk right off the side of the road, right in the middle of the damn city. And I tell you what, I was so happy. It got dinged up a little bit, not too bad. The 4-inch pipe we're going to use for our air intake and our exhaust, that got dinged up pretty good, but all in all, we can deal with it. But I tell you what happened was the freezing rain made my tailgate latch. I thought it was latched good. I gave a tug on it before I left the house, and it wasn't latched well enough. So I was going up a hill, and I drive stick shift, and the hill's about like this. So, and I had somebody right on my bumper at a red light. So I gave it juice pretty quick, and it must have been enough to jostle that tailgate open. And I really hope the vehicle behind me, they must have reacted fast, because I didn't even hear any of it go off. Shit, man. So that's my excuse for using this garbage 55-gallon drum we have here. But this will not be the permanent interior burn chamber on this. That part that goes on the inside that drum, that is a sacrificial part. You know it's only going to last so many seasons. You probably have to replace it every year. Quite a bit of heat on that once it gets burning. But I notice people build a lot of these things with 2 55-gallon drums, one inside of another, and I tell you what, I just plain don't trust that. That scares me to do something like that, because I just don't trust it. But anyway, I gotta weld this to the, I'm gonna weld this inner chamber. We cut the lid off of it a few minutes ago, or we cut the bottom off of it, and then I sliced down the seam on this 55-gallon drum. We rolled it together, we tack welded it, we screwed it, and what I need to do now is weld it onto that bottom again, because that bottom actually fits perfectly inside that drum without much around the outside. So that's perfect, that's what we want. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 1/2-inch threaded rod, and I'm going to go up through that bottom. I'm going to make it adjustable, because I'm terrible at guesstimating the height inside this thing. The bottom's round and the top's round, so it makes it kind of difficult to figure that out. But anyway, getting late here again, but we're going to keep going for a little bit. I'd like to give you guys something just a little bit more than cutting up a 55-gallon drum and all that good stuff. It's been so long since I've been on this project. I feel like we're starting all over again from day one. So anyway, we're going to keep going. Stay tuned. Probably going to be a little bit of a long one tonight.
It was always on fire, our house, our dreams. We were dancing on a wire, reckless it seemed. We found holes in these walls, we like what we saw. Seems so strong until it falls, the final straw. Oh, I never felt like this before. When I was trapped, you showed an open door.
Now when this thing took its trip out of the back of the truck, it landed right there and it friggin' bent that up. I'm gonna have to heat that, bend it back just so we can get the lid to fit on it. We're gonna keep going. I've got to put legs on this barrel on the inside, lift that out, and I guess we'll just go from there.
Mistakes, real love, we thought. But it was always on fire, our house, our dreams. We were dancing on a wire, reckless it seemed. I never felt like this before. When I was trapped, you showed an open door.
Alright, here's what she looks like on the inside. We just have that 55-gallon drum that we modified, slipped in there. And that's the groove I made for our rope gasket. I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to cut this down shorter. That thing's bent. That lid used to fit perfectly, but that trip out of the truck really screwed it up. so the last time that we met, I told you guys that we were going to be making a new inducer assembly, something maybe a little more fitting for what we're doing. So, here's what we have. Get it to where you can see it. So the inducer motor is going to attach to this ring right here. This is 2.5 inches deep into this steel, 1/4 inch plate steel. We have another piece of pipe about 1 inch long welded in there, and that's going to bring the exhaust inside the actual squirrel cage itself. Now on the back side of this, that's what we're looking at right there. So that piece is welded in solid. You guys can see that. Welded in both sides, get that as airtight as we possibly can. So what's going to happen here, the exhaust is going to pull through here. So you can get pulled in by the inducer motor into this ring right here. I'm trying to get it so you guys can get the light there. And then we're going to have our 4-inch pipe coming off the side here. Now the 4-inch pipe, we're going to have to shape the end of it kind of rectangular so it all fits. We can get all the surface area we need inside the actual squirrel cage itself. I don't want any on the other side of that pipe, so that's where we're at. Now what I'm going to keep on working. I'm not going to run the camera while I'm welding because we've done that enough already, so I think it'll be a little bit, I'll just kind of show it more as we're getting it together and whatnot, so keep watching. Alright, so there she is, folks. We'll see if the camera doesn't mess up again. But you can't really, well, I guess you can see it a little bit, but the inducer wheel's in there. And that inner piece of pipe I showed you guys earlier, that goes inside the actual squirrel cage. It leaves about 1 3/4 inches from that lip to the back of the squirrel cage, but that'll ensure that it's sucking from out here into the squirrel cage and that it's putting out where it needs to. So we're going to get this welded on, and I'll run the camera back on when we are done welding it on. Now, just for a draft test, I know this is kind of a half-assed draft test. Holy cow, that's heating up 3 times as fast. Here's my box here. Let's see what we get. Oh, I'd say that's working. Decent flame in there. Oh, much better, folks. Wow, that's heating up quick. Alright, I guess we could finally do some proper temperature monitoring on this now. Alright folks, we're running. We've been running it about 1.5 hours, 2 hours now. I only put about that much sawdust in the bottom of it. The shorter the fire is in one of these, the cooler it runs. The hottest we got the top on this was 350 degrees, and at 350 degrees we had a 118-degree stack temperature going out the wall. That's pretty good. That means we're removing a whole lot of heat off of this as it's burning. The 4-inch flue, the better inducer setup, you know, the inducer housing, the plate in there with the collar, made all the difference in the world. So all we have left to do on this is I have a boiler sight glass for a burner, an old one. I'm going to put on the top here so I can look in on the fire and see what it's doing. And on the bottom here where our air intake is, I just have to make a restrictor plate where we can throttle the air up and down on it. And I'm just going to take, I've got a piece about a foot wide of this barrel that we cut off when we first started doing it. So we'll take that and we'll make a plate for that one that we can slide open and close. So I'm pretty damn happy with that. That's actually, there's no smoke in here. It's working perfect. Running the sawdust burner for the second night in a row. I put about twice the charge in it that I did last night, and I tell you, it's like clockwork. I've got twice the stack temperature, or twice the temperature on top here. So right now, we're running at 650 degrees on top of the stove. Down here at the bottom, I can leave my hand on that without getting burnt. Out here at the exhaust, we're running a 222 degree exhaust temp going out the wall. That's pretty efficient, really, when you think about it, how much heat we're actually trapping in the top of the barrel that it's radiating versus what's going out the wall. So I've made a hell of a mess in here. I got to get it cleaned up, get these boards on, and this will heat a lot better once I do that. But so we're going to let this run. Tonight I'm actually burning sawdust that was fresh off the sawmill from logs. I had it in a barrel, so it hasn't really had any air get to it to dry or anything like that. But trying it out to see if it would burn nothing but sawdust from green wood, and I tell you what, it's burning phenomenally, really well. I also, I don't know if you could see it, I added a little plate here so I could control the air. It's a little butterfly plate, and that works really, really well. So we may just leave that as is. Well, we're finally closed in the forge, so that's a good thing. Always a good thing. But it's nice in here right now. That thing's running about 350 degrees right now. Stack temp's about 140. So that's not too bad. That's after I've had it burning all evening. I got home from work, first thing I did was fire it up, and I put about double the charge in it as what it had the last time we were here. Would have been last night. Tomorrow night, as long as all goes well, I'm going to try to do a full charge on it, see how long it goes. That little peephole I have in the top, it's just a 3/8 hole drilled down that I can look through. I'm going to be cutting more out. Like I said, I have a boiler inspection plate in there. I think what I might do, I think what might be a little handier for me is put something I can easily take off of there and knock the sawdust off the sides. I'm noticing now that it's down near the tail end of its run that the sawdust, a couple inches of it actually stays kind of stuck to the outside and it just kind of smolders there. I noticed the next day though, when I go to open the lid, check things out, every bit of sawdust is turned into ash. It's burnt right up. So that's something I think that would be kind of handy, just so I can get a little more heat out of it while I'm out here working. Had a suggestion to do a couple things to make it so I could feed it while it's burning. Unfortunately, this just isn't one of those things you can do that with. If I had a auger set up, something like that, a little different style, which who knows, maybe we'll make something someday for it. But as it is right now, I'm pretty damn happy with it. I mean, to get an entire evening's worth of work out here and have heat the entire time from lighting something off once, not even on a full load, that's pretty good. And I figure the way it looks, now I've seen people throw figures out there that they're getting, 12 hours burn out of them. I don't see that happening, not on this. What I see happening is probably a good 8 to 10 hours with a full load of sawdust on, and that's pretty good. I mean, you're going to be out here working anyway. That's more when the forge is going and this room finally closed off. The forge is going to generate enough heat to really kind of keep this place heated up pretty well. For me, it's more when I'm grinding and things like that. And we're going to be at the bench a lot grinding this winter on tools, and you need that little bit of heat to keep your fingers from freezing and your balls from falling off or freezing to the side of your leg, because that happens around here often. But I'm going to take you guys over to the whiteboard because I've had some requests to kind of write this down on there so exactly how it works. All right, let's see how well we can see this here. So first off, let's look at the barrel itself. I don't know why we have all this grinder dust on here. Now, the outer barrel itself is, let's get the right end here. So we're looking at, let's see, I'll try to make this so you guys can see it all. I'll start from this side. Don't make fun of my drawing skills. All right, yeah, I guess you guys can sort of see that. I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, so total height on this is 56 inches. Our barrel width, outer barrel, is 24 inches diameter. If you go to the inside, get you turned here a little bit. So our inner barrel, listen to me, can't talk. Now this outer core right here is something like 22 and a half. So this is the inner barrel here. 22 and a half inches, that sits down inside. And I have 3/8 threaded rod pegs about 6 inches long each that feeds in there, and that inner barrel right here sits on top of it. This guy right here is about 20 inches wide. And it's actually more than that. I apologize. I believe is 23. So this would be somewhere, I want to say around 22. These are rough, guys, real rough. I'm kind of guesstimating, but so that leaves me with 1 inch of airspace all the way around this inner barrel sitting inside of here. So what happens is I'll do an inner. That guy is 2.5 inches. That's the hole in the center. And so what happens is we have our fresh air intake here. It draws up through here, through that inner barrel, goes up over the top of that inner barrel, comes around. It circulates around the inner barrel, then it finally goes out. I know I have an eraser right there, don't ask, guys. It goes out that inducer assembly and out the wall. It's really simple. There's not much to it. The inner barrel on one side almost touches the lid of the burner, and then we have a kind of a reduction cut so we kind of have a, let's get you zoomed in a little more. So we have a lip 2 inches cut all the way around this. And that kind of helps, instead of the exhaust just pulling over the backside right out and not taking the heat off of it, it forces it to suck it down and draw it around that barrel out to the inducer setup and out. I hope this is making sense. I'm not always very good at drawing it out and explaining it because I never do drawings or anything when I make anything, so this kind of all comes out of my noggin. So from what I was watching on these burners, a big thing is, big thing if you want to get the heat out of it is to get the top of the inner barrel pretty close to the top of the outer shell itself. Just having that inner barrel, it's amazing how much heat it keeps from the outside shell, but it forces all the heat to the top of that thing. And it actually does not get very warm around the sides of that. The hottest temperature I have on the sides when it was running at 750 earlier, the hottest temperature I had on the outsides was like 350, a little bit closer to the top. Once it gets down to where the inducer assembly was, the hottest temperature I had on it tonight was like 230 degrees. It was perfect. And that was, I mean, the thing was running over 700 degrees at that point. It's amazing how much heat it's actually removing. Now, if you get much below, you get below 200 degrees, you're running the risk of condensing, which, yeah, you're removing all the heat off of it, but at the same time, this is not made or designed to be condensing. What'll happen there, it'll end up rotting it out, and we don't want that. When you're burning wood type products, a good hot fire, because you're trying to burn all the volatiles off. The hotter the better. That's really what makes a lot of wood stoves inefficient, is because you'll never burn that wood hot enough to burn everything off of it. You need like a 2000 or 2200 degree fire to actually burn everything that can combust in that smoke and everything. That's what makes the masonry heaters really good that you see. It's an old European design. I still want to build one someday, but who knows when we'll ever get to that. But those you burn hot enough to actually burn all the exhaust, the gases and everything off before it goes out the chimney, because it's all masonry. It's kind of neat how they work. You guys ought to look them up sometime. It's pretty damn interesting. But anyway, that's her. That's what we have. I hope I explained it well enough. It's so damn simple. I can't even convey to you how simple that thing really is. There's really nothing to it. If I put a stack on it going all the way up the building, I would not need that inducer set up at all. But for me, I had it. I've had that thing kicking around here for years. I had the materials to make it. And so for me, it makes sense to do it that way. It saves me probably to run a chimney with the price of the pipe, probably run me a good $1,000 to run what I need up to the roof on here. This thing didn't cost me a dime. The only thing I have into this is welding rod and grinding discs. That's it. As I said in the last video, and I hate to keep harping on it, but it is the world we live in. If you build one of these things, guys, it's on you. I'm not going to tell you to build one. I'm not going to tell you not to build one. I can tell you so far, I'm very impressed, very happy with it. It's only been running a few times, but I can already tell it's going to work well. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you on the next one.